though during the time of subsidy, there is a lot of, let me say, problems. You get what I'm saying? So people are complaining about naira scarcity. Then we that we are doing the business of POS, it's not as usual. Shey you get?
gbogbo àwọn ọjà ò tiẹ̀ yá, àwọn èèyàn ò tiẹ̀ gan jáde gan, kò sẹ́ni kankan tó jáde, so ó affect gan, ọjà ò yá, ọjà wọn àrọ́jàrà, àwọn èèyàn ògo òrówó ná.
wàhálà 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 lọ́gọ́ lórí bàtà wàhálà 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 wàhálà.
I realized things had gone really bad when I saw customers trying to tear off the door of a bank on Adekunle Adetokunbo in VI. At the time, I was working for a media house in Victoria Island, and this street has some of the biggest names in banking in Nigeria, several branches, name them. And it was so bad, people didn't have money for anything, money for transportation, money for food, money for medication, money to live. Because let's be honest with each other, Nigeria is a cash-based economy. As much as we have digital payment platforms here and there, it's the one thing to say that they work. It's the other. The reality is that what moves Nigeria is those simple pieces of cash. When people couldn't find the transport fare, the money to pay their transport fare to go from point A to point B, it was chaos. And no greater picture of chaos has ever been painted, in my experience, than watching people try to take off the doors of a bank.
If I want buy money that time, maybe 100k, I'll just add 10k on it. So you get?
Yeah.
And they are going to give me 100k for 10k. I'll add 10k to 100k. That's going to be one thing. Then I'll collect 100.
Yeah.
So now, so I plan.
àwọn míì tún ṣe fake transfer, jẹ́ pé fake transfer lẹ́lòmíì ṣe ń gbà yẹn, so cashless yẹn ó affect a lot, and ó sì ń affect the sin.
I do not think the government was responsible as far as the cash redesign policy was concerned. I thought it was the most irresponsible decision of a Nigerian government in all of my life. For one reason, the Nigerian government was fully aware that you are running a country where people need to have cash in hand. You redesigned the naira, you redesigned the country's currency. You did not create enough time for people to return the cash to the banks and get the new notes.
That time, there are a lot of people that even that when they give people money, 10k for 8k, so you get the problem. Because I believe say these people wey dey help me, wey I dey give money, at the end of the day, if the thing happen to stop, then how am I going to be feeling to them? So you get wetin I dey talk. So na wetin make me escalate my own price to that.
bá ṣe ń jẹwó lágbára o nígbà yẹn, ó ní agbára gan, torí níbi ká mú gàrí láàárọ̀, ó tún dalẹ́ ká tún mú gàrí, bá ṣe ń live nìyẹn. Okay.
My biggest takeaway is that Nigeria and Nigerians can survive anything, even irresponsible government policies. There were two sides to this. We saw Nigerians who were willing to take advantage of a bad situation. I mean, the fees that we were hearing for receiving cash did not make any sense. If you needed 10,000 naira, you would have to give up 3,000 naira as the transaction charge. So it doesn't matter what you need, you would lose a lot of money. We saw that. We saw Nigerians take advantage of the situation to enrich themselves. But we also saw Nigerians who decided, this is bad, this affects all of us, but I will not become like the people that we condemn.
Emefiele ṣó ti rí, ó ṣáà ti rí, ó bá kó káàṣì kúrò ńlẹ̀, ìyá àwa máa mú mineral tó di block. Efeleme, ìyá yín, àwọn ò mọ̀ ń pa ẹ o. If you like kówó bọ́tà, if you no like don't kówó bọ́tà, tomorrow we go spend money.
Maybe e no go better for am now. Maybe you know now, e no go better for am. And everybody dey curse am over now. You see say the man sef, the last time wey I see am wey he at ten d to court sef, don leave. So everybody don curse am.
Those 2 months, as terrible as they were, allowed a number of microfinance bank, smaller banking companies to come up and retain a foothold in the market until today. Some of these banks have got such good word of mouth reputation that you would find people who use the regular banks or the established banks having accounts with banks that came up during the course of this redesign policy.
As a journalist, I am neutral. I mean, I'm neutral. The effects of the elections on Nigerians during the elections, no, I didn't like. I didn't like what I saw at the polling units. Yeah.
Some talks came in. They came straight to me telling me that we should forget about voting in our polling unit. As the polling unit is just the polling unit by Festac Link Bridge, that we are not going to vote. I asked him why. He said this Omo Igbo, that we can't vote in this place, that is not allowed, except if I want my car burnt or if I want to live here dead as a corpse.
Now, let me talk about following up with what was going on at different polling units where there were people who got threatened that they can't come out to vote because of their tribe. There were polling units where I saw chaos, their ballot papers destroyed, they were not allowed to vote. I watched what happened in Okota, for instance. But irrespective of that, we had a result. And I had people call me on air after that period, stating clearly that they did not vote. And so that where are we getting the results when they were not allowed to come out and vote? So with that unfairness, it didn't feel good that, some people were disenfranchised and then there was an election result. I felt like we could have dealt with that somehow. We could have dealt with that before there was a final election result.
At Falolu Road, the talk just came with face mask and hooded mask, and they shot sporadically and cut away with the ballot box and the beavers machine. You can see.
I'll change the voting system. I'll give people the ability to register for voting all year round. So just as it is where you could get your national identity, just as you could walk into a passport office and get your international passport, I would make the registration system in that manner so that you can register before the elections. And then if you have to change, if you relocate to something, it's easy to move your details to wherever you're going to. I would make that happen. What else will I do? I'll make it more tech friendly. The whole ballot paper thing should be a plan B, not the plan A.
Huh. I mean, they're an interesting bunch, a few of them at least. Most of them seem to have kept their heads down. But I think this period of governors presenting their budgets, their proposals for 2024 is certainly a time to watch out for, looking at where their priorities are. I think about, for instance, Cross River and where the previous governor was coming from and the current governor is taking over from Governor Ayade. And I can't help but think about how many Cross Riverians have talked about the title of the names of the budgets, right? Of Blush and Bliss, and how we're going into more normal periods. But perhaps on a more serious note, you also look at Governor Oti, for instance, right? And what he's doing with infrastructure in Abia. Certainly something to watch out for as the year unfolds. I think that especially for the new governors, they're going to get a taste of what it's like to project, right? That this is how your budget will perform. But then revenue is a whole other ball game. You sort of see how government works fully at that point. Besides this, perhaps other governors to certainly keep an eye out on. It's very easy for the governors who are transitioning, who are in their second term now. It's very easy for them to fly under the radar. But clearly, there's something to watch out for. I think about Kwara State with Governor Abdul Razak and how he very commendably with his cabinet has done a 50-50 in terms of representation. I think about how Governor Zulum's continuation in Borno is probably good for the state because You definitely want a steady hand for a state like that that's been rocked by so much insecurity. I think about Yobe State with Governor Buni, and perhaps, in their case, they can thankfully have their governor back after his stint being the caretaker chairman of his party, the All Progressives Congress. Lagos, definitely something to watch out for. Governor Sonwolu just recently presented the budget proposal, 2.2 trillion naira thereabout. Lagos has always set a pace, right? There's no other subnational that's going to try to wade into that level in terms of budgetary preparations. But there was definitely a cheeky thing with him naming it the budget of renewal. May as well just have added hope at the end. And, would have certainly seen a continuation with, I don't know if the word is godfatherism, but yeah, when you think about the new crop of governors, I'm really just thinking about it as this time and space where budgetary preparations are going on and they have the chance to fully define for themselves what they want to do with the first year of their administration.
That as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will discharge my duties and perform my functions honestly, to the best of my ability, and faithfully, in accordance with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No provision is there for fuel subsidy. The fuel subsidy is gone.
It was overdue. Let me start from the practical aspect of that decision. It was way overdue. The passage of the Petroleum Industry Act into law, or bill into law, making it an act, put paid to all of that.
Now my mates in show, we have to get the rotate it wrong. We just if I back this finish now, I also want off generator, understand before. I will leave generator will all dey run. But the subsidy don't dey like this now. If I back this guy finish now like this now, this guy go run go off generator. I no fit leave generator me last month. Even though I put guy for here, he still cash am. Because subsidy don increase. The fuel now we buy like 3,000 naira fuel like this now. The 3,000 naira fuel na 3 hours. One litre na 1 hour I dey use for our generator. So the thing don't even tire me like this. I don't even know wetin I do.
The real feel or the real impact of that decision, on the other hand, it's a different response I will give to that question. I believe the government was not prepared. The reason of this is because of the policy reversals they engaged in trying to alleviate the suffering that was brought on by that decision. That's indicative of somebody who really wasn't prepared. All the talk of hitting the ground running, as far as subsidy removal goes, we were not prepared. Some people close to the president said they were not privy to his making the announcement on his inauguration day. So it sounds like it's something that was done spontaneously. It wasn't decided spontaneously, but the execution, the giving voice to the decision was done spontaneously by the president. And analysts have come in, myself inclusive, to weigh the wisdom of taking that decision on his inauguration day. Some are of the school of thought that if he hadn't announced it then, we may never have seen the end of subsidy. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought says that he wasn't even sure he was going to remove it at all. So there are different people looking at it. But one thing is, some people say it's the right thing for him to have done because a possible cabal might have hijacked the idea of removing subsidy between the distance it will take for him to travel from inauguration ground to the presidential villa to assume office properly. So there's all of that going on. But for all intents and purposes, what we saw was a government that was not prepared.
You say you don't change your price.
I don't change price.
How much you got before?
Before na 1,000 naira, now like this na 1,500. Ordinary quote.
cut and die before na 2,000 naira. And I don put money for die wey I dey buy 1,000 naira before. I don put 500 naira on top am. Leave I don change my own cut and die 3,000 naira. From 2,000 naira I add 1,000 naira join my own. Do everything dey gbadu dey do.
Anything touch you well well.
E touch me o to the ex ten t say even dis white collar wey be say na 500 naira for market don turn 700. Everything don add money. Reach powder, tissue, neck pad, everything don cost. Dis one I dey buy am 200 naira for market, now e don turn 500 naira. Dis one 100 naira for market with your blade 100 naira e don cost, e don turn 500 naira. Everything don cost, everything don add money. My price sef don add money.
Shey the time when you hear say dem comot subsidy, you believe say e go hard like this?
When I hear say dem comot subsidy I happy, but I no know say e go from frying pan to fire. Dis one hard o. Tinubu to Ali.
But at least you no dey queue for fuel again na.
I no dey queue, but the fuel come dey finish on time for my generator, na that one come surprise me. E dey finish for my generator on time. Ta ló wá mu fuel? Who dey stock my fuel? Shey na subsidy? I no know. Everything don tire me bro, don tire me.
But e don tey wey dem comot subsidy na.
E don tey o.
No be since May.
E don tey.
By now you don balance.
I never balance o. To check balance gan e hard. To check balance like this everything just hard. Like this as I dey follow you dey talk gan sef, e just be like say ma don off generator. Ma just off generator ma dey bab the air because as I even dey on generator like this because my body dey pepper me because the way the fuel just dey go down, e just dey pepper me for body.
Lots of people are suffering. You see it when you drive out of your house, when you walk out of your house, right outside your front door. You see the suffering there. We know what's going on. The question is, how do we mitigate? How do we shorten the periods it would take to move a lot of people from the extreme hardship we found ourselves in to a period where they could stand on their own and so on? And let's not forget, this was the second policy that's directly impacted the lives of everyone within the space of 6-7 months. First being the Naira swap policy. That's a different conversation.
Now.
Yeah, we'll do. When there's life, there's hope. I believe say our God will touch bro Tinubu mind. Everything go see. I know Tinubu, you don eat my car. Oyinbo rẹpẹtẹ. And you don jam my car. Rẹpẹtẹ. Tell me to don eat my car. Oyinbo rẹpẹtẹ. I believe you Tinubu go do am. You go do am for us. Everywhere go sweet. I believe Tinubu ma ṣe fún wa. But abeg now, I don too waste money for fuel gan. If I buy fuel this morning gan, I dey vex. I dey para. I wan off generator now sef. I wan off gen.